Hey everybody, Decent Eddie here, week 2. A little bit under the weather. Wanted to get this to you yesterday, but that just was not happening. I got 7 for 7 last week, and my Decent Eddie confident moneyline picks, the against the spreads and the over-unders were pretty sloppy, but we should be a little bit less sloppy in week 2, and as we get more data, less and less as we go, right? That's a good thing. Hey, it would be really cool if you left a like, did a comment thing, did a subscribe thing, hit the bell, whatever. Also, let's be sure to be smart with our money if we're going to be stupid with our money. And don't take what I say or what anyone else says doing this on faith alone. Do a little bit of research on your own, in addition to checking with experts before putting your hard-earned money on anything. All right, week 2, here we go. Browns and Ravens. The Ravens are 11.5-point favorites with a market win probability of 88% on the money line. The over-under is 45.5 points. This is a decent Eddie confident money line pick for the Ravens with a differential of 23.75, really high. Baltimore's coming off a pretty brutal loss and will probably try to make up for that with a statement at home, I think anyway. Ravens are a team with a powerful rushing attack, and they'll try and utilize that at the highest level possible against the Browns. And the Browns were a little bit mistake prone with turnovers and other things, and their run game felt kind of limited last week. In this game, the Ravens are the safe money line pick. However, laying 11.5 points this early in the season is a lot in my opinion. It's kind of a big number to trust. For that reason, it might be a thing to take the Browns covering 11.5 and take the Ravens on the money line because, I mean, the Browns do have some fight in them. They seem to always have fight against the Ravens. But again, this early, I'd only take against the spread with some caution no matter what. Maybe take an alternate spread. You know, the over-under also feels a little bit high because both teams are sort of built run-heavy, and we're going to probably try to control the clock. So against the spread, maybe Browns to cover 11.5. It is a little bit dangerous. The over-under, I think you take the under 45.5. And even though it has very little value, it is a decent Eddie confident money line pick for the Ravens. So maybe if you're going to use this game on money line, maybe tie it in with a couple of other legs to make a 2 or 3 leg parlay just to get some value out of it. Okay. Rams and Titans. The Rams are 5.5-point favorites, and the market win probability for Rams is 72% against the Titans, just head-to-head. The over-under is 41.5. This is a decent Eddie confident moneyline pick for the Rams. The differential is 19.177. The Rams have a strong defense that should make life miserable for Cam Ward, who really struggled in week 1. While the Rams offense was a little bit shaky, a much more experienced quarterback and a better system is all the Rams really need here. The Titans' defensive front is good, and it could keep the game kind of close by putting pressure on Stafford. However, the Titans' offense just doesn't seem capable of keeping up here. There isn't a unanimous agreement on whether the Rams can cover the 5.5-point spread out there in the world, but I think this game is going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. So with that in mind, the under looks like a better play out of everything. So money line, Rams to win. That 5.5-point spread may be a tough market number to cover for a week 2 game. You may want to consider the Titans at 5.5 plus. I don't know. The over-under 41.5 here. Bears versus Lions. This is a matchup of 2 teams with tough week 1 losses. The Lions are 6.5-point favorites with a market win probability of 72%, and the over-under is 47.5 points. Our model has this as a decent Eddie confident moneyline pick for the Lions with an 11.166 differential. The Lions, even after a disappointing start, should have a get-right game at home here. They're a far better team than what they showed in week 1, and we all know it. And I think they're going to get back to their dominant ground game and just kind of plug away. The Bears, while they had a strong first half last week, completely collapsed in the fourth quarter. It's tough to trust a rookie quarterback who struggled with missed throws in key moments. Even with a strong coach in Chicago. Well, I mean, the coach, he's not the one throwing the ball, though, right? This is a decent Eddie confident moneyline pick for the Lions to win. Take the Bears at 6.5 for the fun of it, maybe. We're in week 2. Over under, both teams' offenses looked less than stellar last week, so it's a cautious lean on the under 47.5. Jets versus Bills. The Bills are 6.5-point favorites with a 76% win probability. The over-under is 46.5 points. The Bills get the decent Eddie confident moneyline pick with a 22.917 differential. Josh Allen is coming off an MVP-level performance, and the Bills' offense refused to be denied in week 1. Now the Jets' offense also looked kind of good, though. Their defense gave up 34 points. That's not good. And a ton of yards to a team that really isn't known for being high-flying offense. It's hard to imagine what the Bills will do to the Jets. The Bills' defense was surprisingly bad last week, giving up a whole lot of yards on the ground. But with Allen at the helm, the Bills should be able to score at will. Should be able to. Decent Eddie confident money line pick for the Bills to win. I think you take the Bills at 6.5 or maybe 5.5 against the spread. Over under 46.5 points. Over that seems safer than not. Giants versus Cowboys. The Cowboys are 4.5 point favorites with a market win probability of 70%. The over under is set at 44.5 points. Our model has this as a suboptimal moneyline pick for the Cowboys, meaning there may be a reason for some caution. New York's offense looked terrible in week 1, and their offensive line was a huge problem. You'd think that this is a lock. However, the Cowboys' offense didn't look great either at times. I mean, they looked better than I expected them to be, but I mean, they still weren't great. The spread of 4.5 points is a tight one for a suboptimal pick. The one pick I'm confident about is the total, and confident is like that. I think that the market might be overpricing the game here. I don't know. Do we really see both teams scoring 3 touchdowns? Anyway, wrapping this up, it's a suboptimal moneyline pick on the Cowboys to win this game. I'd consider the against the spread or no play, in my opinion, in week 2. But, I mean, you're free to do whatever you want. As far as the over-under, I think you take the under 44.5 points. I just don't see either team really scoring a lot. Could be wrong. I mean, I've been wrong before. It's okay. 49ers versus Saints. The 49ers are a 3-point favorite with a money line win probability of 62%. The over-under is set at 40.5 points. Our model has this as a decent Eddie confident pick for the 49ers on the money line with a 19.583 differential between these two teams. The 49ers are banged up, though, and that's why this line is so tight. But even with the injuries, the 49ers are still more talented and a more complete team than the Saints on paper. I mean, they've got McCaffrey. I mean, he should be able to run all over the place with the Saints. I mean, the defense in New Orleans looked really soft against the run in week 1. They've also got a good defense that's going to go up against the Saints offense that struggled last week against a worse offense. Wrapping it up, I mean, I think this is a confident moneyline pick on the 49ers to win. I think the 3-point spread is a little more solid than some other games here. But we do have some uncertainty as far as injury goes, so I think you take the 3 points with the 49ers. That's really just knowing how bad the Saints look more than how good the 49ers should be, right? And as for the total, I don't know. The 49ers are banged up. The Saints couldn't find the end zone last week. I think you take the under 40.5. The ugliest game of the week goes to the Patriots and Dolphins, a game I won't be watching. The Dolphins are 1.5 point favorites with a market win probability of 56%. The over-under is set at 43.5 points. Our decent idea model has this as a suboptimal moneyline pick favoring the Patriots. It's borderline dangerous. I would really avoid this one altogether on the money line. This is a matchup of two teams that looked absolutely awful in week 1. The Patriots' new regime looked bad. The Dolphins looked horrendous. Tua was off. The offense was anemic. The defense was like, I don't know, you'd put potted plants out there, they would have done a better job. Gross. New England has historically struggled in Miami anyway, but there is no way you can trust the Dolphins to cover even this tiny spread. The only thing that I can confidently say is that these two offenses may not be able to score a lot of points. So, wrapping it up, I'd avoid the money line or the spread on this game altogether, friends. The market number is not good, and it could easily go either way. The over-under, I'd be taking the under 43.5 points. Jaguars versus Bengals. The Bengals are 3.5 point favorites with a market win probability of 64%. The over-under is set at a whopping 49.5 points. Our model has this as a suboptimal moneyline pick for the Bengals, which means maybe take it if you have some appetite for risk. This is a matchup of two teams with polar opposite week 1 performances. The Bengals were sloppy. Joe Burrow and the offense looked terrible in an ugly win. Jaguars, I mean, they looked pretty good. They had a dominant running game. You would think the Bengals get it together, but they do have a history of starting slow. Their defense might not be able to contain Jacksonville. Might not. Probably won't. Wrapping it up here, I'm staying away from the money line. The Bengals week 1 performance just doesn't warrant a bet. For the spread, I'd take the Jaguars at 3.5 just for the fun of it. I mean, I think that's what you do. As for the total, 49.5, 49.5 is a very high number given how bad the Bengals looked on offense last week and how stout both defenses were. So I'd recommend the under 49.5 here. Seahawks versus Steelers. The market has the Steelers as 3-point favorites. The over-under is set at 39.5 points. As far as the money line goes, this is the Decent Eddie suboptimal money line pick favoring the Steelers at an 8.334 differential. That suggests that maybe you think pretty hard before taking the money line on either team here. The Steelers offense, led by a surprisingly vintage Aaron Rodgers, was kind of on fire last week. Now the Steelers defense gave up more points than they surely wanted, so there's that. In their game last week, the Seahawks, they kind of sputtered. Their defense looked pretty solid, I guess, but the big question is which team shows up on Sunday. So for me, the money line is a no play. For the spread, the Steelers' offensive line looks shaky, but I mean, that could be a problem against a stout Seattle defense. So I honestly would lean towards the Seahawks at the +3. The over-under is 39.5 points, which seems low given the Steelers' Week 1 performance. I'm going to be taking the over 39.5 and what should be a closer than expected shootout. Broncos versus Colts. The markets had the Broncos as 2.5-point favorites with an over-under 43.5 points. This is a Decent Eddie suboptimal pick on the money line for the Broncos. And like with any suboptimal pick, you should only take it if you have some tolerance for risk. The teams had wildly different Week 1 performances. The Colts had a dominant win, and their offense looked great, and their defense shut down the Dolphins, which weren't a great team, but they shut them down anyway. Over in Denver, the Broncos' offense kind of struggled, but the defense was stellar, spectacular even. The Colts' defense will be a reasonable test for Bo Nix, especially considering their success against a similar quick-throwing quarterback in Week 1. The difference is Miami and Denver is Denver, So the money line is a suboptimal pick for the Broncos. For the spread, I think the Colts defense and home field advantage make it kind of close, so maybe take the Colts at 3.5 or 2.5. I probably would do 3.5 just for the safety of it. I like safe. And with both defenses looking so sharp, the under 43.5 is a strong play here, I think. Panthers versus Cardinals. The Cardinals are 6.5-point favorites with an over-under of 44.5 points. Our model has this as a Decent Eddie confident moneyline pick for the Cardinals with the differential of their Eddie scores being 12.5. This is a game where we have a clear favorite. The Panthers had a really rough Week 1. Bryce Young throwing 2 picks, coughing up the fumble. The defense also struggled against the run. The Cardinals, while not looking amazing, did have a strong defensive performance and their run game was productive. It's a rough matchup for the Panthers and their struggling offense against an aggressive Cardinal defense. I'm confident in the Cardinals on the money line on this one. For the spread, the Cardinals 6.5 feels right. As for the total, the Panthers offense looking so weak and the Cardinals defense playing so well, I think under 44.5 is a decent value. Eagles versus Chiefs, a rematch of the Super Bowl. The Eagles are 1.5-point favorites right now with an over-under 46.5 points. This is a Decent Eddie suboptimal lean for the Eagles on the money line, which means there's some risk on the money line. The big story here is the Chiefs' Week 1 loss. It was ugly. It wasn't pretty. It was bad, and they're facing a potential 0-2 start. The Eagles had a solid win, and the running game with Saquon Barkley looks like a real problem again for the Chiefs. The Chiefs' defense looks shaky against the pass, but they've got a major revenge factor on their side here, right? However, the Eagles are talented, and they could be too much for the Chiefs' defense. So for me, and the line has been moving all week, guys, it's a tight one. So I'm staying away from the spread. The money line is a suboptimal play, so that's a little risky too. The real value, I think, is on the total. With the Chiefs looking to get back on track and the Eagles having a dynamic offense, I think this game, I think you go with the over on this game, 46.5 points. Falcons versus Vikings. The Vikings are 3.5-point favorites with an over-under 44.5 points. The market has a 64% win probability for the Vikings, but our model has this as a suboptimal pick with an 8.166 differential between these two teams, so approach with caution on the money line. This is a matchup with two young quarterbacks with McCarthy and Penix Jr., who faced off in the college national championship. The Vikings defense is a big strength. They should be able to make Penix uncomfortable. However, Penix actually had a much better Week 1 passing performance than McCarthy. Still, the Vikings have home field and a big weapon in Justin Jefferson, who could feast on the Falcons secondary. I'm going to take the Vikings to win and the cover 3.5 points. But I think there's value in the total here as well. With the 2 rookie quarterbacks, I'm kind of leaning towards the under 44.5. I know we have this great image of these 2 new quarterbacks coming and just blowing things up, but I mean, the reality probably going to be a little bit different. Again, this was a suboptimal pick on the money line, so Vikings with caution if you do that. We've got a 2-game Monday night. Buccaneers versus Texans is first. The Texans are 2.5-point favorites with an over-under 42.5 points. But my model has this as a suboptimal lean towards the Buccaneers, meaning the market may be overvaluing the Texans. Maybe. The market is giving the Texans a 58% chance of winning the game. See, it's kind of close. The Texans looked terrible in week 1. They only got 9 points, friends. 9. Their offensive line looks like a serious issue. C.J. Stroud was under pressure all day. Now, while the Bucs offense wasn't spectacular, they did find a way to win. They also have a solid run defense, which should be able to shut down Houston's ground game. The big concern for the Bucs is injuries, which may be the reason for the tight line by the market, but I suspect their veteran experience could overcome these hurdles for the road upset. So honestly, folks, I'm taking the Buccaneers at 2.5 against the spread. And with both offenses struggling in week 1, I think the under 42.5 is a better value. My money line number favors Buccaneers, but it is a suboptimal number. Exercise caution either way you go. Or don't. I mean, it's whatever. Typically, what I do when my money line number doesn't match with the market's money line number, I'll leave the money line completely alone and stick with the spread for my models pick. It's week 2, so maybe that works, maybe not. I do it for the insurance, but it is what I'm doing. It's worked well for me in the past. All right, Chargers versus the Raiders. Silver and black, baby, just win. This is our last game, and honestly, it's a good one. And it's kind of cool to say the Raiders are in a good game. So, and that doesn't mean I'm biased towards you're going to see here in a second. The Chargers are 3-point favorites with an over-under 46.5 points. This is a decent Eddie confident pick on the money line for the Chargers. The market is a touch less confident and are giving the Chargers a 64% chance winning head-to-head. Both teams are coming off solid wins. The Chargers are riding high after beating the Chiefs. Justin Herbert looked fantastic, throwing for 318 yards. I mean, he did look great, and 3 touchdowns. The Raiders' offense also looked strong in their win. Geno Smith throwing 362 yards, but the run game was, I mean, it's like, did it exist? I don't know. I don't think it did. That one-dimensionality could be a problem if it's a real thing. The Chargers passing game with Herbert at the helm is a tough match for any defense, honestly, and the Raiders secondary might be in for a long night. While the Raiders will have a fired-up home crowd, the Chargers have the better quarterback and a more dynamic offense. So I think you take Chargers to cover that 3-point spread. I think we go with the over 46.5 points, and I think you take Chargers on the money line. It is my confident pick, friends. So that's it, guys. Parlays, I will always endorse a 3-leg parlay with odds between -400 and -450. If you do that, your probability to win should stay above 50%. So as an example, and with being safe, guiding principle here, maybe you look at Jared Goff passing for 200 plus yards, Mark Andrews of the Ravens getting 20 plus yards receiving, and maybe you take Josh Allen rushing for 20 plus yards. You know, something like that. It's nice and safe. Be safe, protect your money. Regardless of what you choose, I never recommend more than a 3-leg parlay due to the risks of combined probabilities. And remember, don't spend more than 10% of your bankroll in total across all your wagers in a day. Never chase losses, and if you need help with a gambling problem, check my channel's description. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Hey, if you found this helpful at all, please hit like, subscribe, tap the bell to get my picks before the games. Follow me at Decent Eddie Picks on Instagram, Facebook, X at Decent Eddie Picks, spelled P-I-X. Find me at TikTok. I'll make some in-game comments, thoughts if I have them, either before, during, or after the game. I mean, sometimes I have thoughts, you know. But let's see what happens. This is Decent Eddie signing off. I'm going to take a nap. Have an awesome day.